Hello. Welcome to week three. Welcome to week three. This is my little mic I'm supposed to be using. See if it works any better. Um, if you want to know exactly what's going on here, go back to my first episode from 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever. I explain everything, but essentially, me and Crystal are doing these weekly updates on Fridays, going over how our week went, and we're not watching each other's videos. So, at the end of this experiment, after a month, we're going to go back, compare notes, and see what we saw in a week. Like I said, won't go into all the details. You guys can go back and see episode one if you want all the ins and outs of why we started this and where this came from and kind of where we want to go with it. But anyways, that's the short version of it. So we're excited to see where this goes and stuff. So, anyways, here I go. Last Saturday was a busy Saturday. We have weekends that are super busy, and then we have other weekends that are chill. This weekend's kind of chill. Last weekend though was pretty crazy. Started with Gabby early morning having to go do Girl Scout cookie, not deliveries, but I guess it's where all the neighborhoods come. And if you're into Girl Scouts or you have Girl Scouts in your families, right, or your kids, then you know what that is. But essentially, they come together. This is where they all collect the cookies when they first come in before they go out and sell them. And so it was a big old parking lot, and help distribute them to all the different neighborhoods and to separate them and take them off the pallets and all that stuff. So it was fun. It was a fun little community event that we did there. Hanging out with Gabby's always awesome and cool. But then right after that, had to drive from North Phoenix all the way down to I think it was in Tempe, the Easton Swim. He had a swim meet this weekend. He did awesome, by the way. He did great. And the one thing I want to say about that is, or the takeaway for that is, Easton's attitude is so awesome. He's such a good swimmer, but his main focus was on learning his skill set, right? So he's a very powerful swimmer, but his technique isn't always there on certain events. And so his whole goal was just to improve his technique. He's like, I'm not necessarily looking to swim fast. I just want to work on my technique. If I can get good technique and I'm slow, I still win. And that was amazing that he thinks that way. At the end, he ended up winning a ton, anyways. I think he only got 1 second and 1 third place, and the rest of them was first place. So that's amazing. That's awesome. Love that attitude. And his technique did improve. So, he got, double whammy, right? Two good things happened. He did great and he improved his technique. So very proud of him and what he's accomplished in swim. Let me see what else. Just a normal day, clean laundry and clean the house, stuff like that. Uh, Sunday was Crystal and Tristan's half marathon day, which another thing I love about that is Crystal just kind of having her own thing and having Tristan, we're passing it down to Tristan as well and getting him involved in that. I think that's awesome. One for mental health and physical health. I think anytime you can combine those two things, that an event or anything that you do that is good for mental health and physical health, that's awesome. My art is great for mental health, but doesn't really do much for my physical health. I mean, it does at the end because mental health does, is attached to physical health, but we're not doing exercise. You're not knocking out two birds with one stone like that. But jujitsu is good for mental health and it's good for physical health, right? That's kind of Crystal's marathons and stuff. So I'm glad her and Tristan are doing that, and I'm very, very, very proud of them. So let's see, got to see Jacob on Sunday, so that's cool. I like doing our little visits with Jacob. Ever since he moved out, I see him less because he's on his own, him and his girl, and he's got two roommates. Which one thing I'll say about that is that I'm very proud of those kids because when we were young and we were in our 20s, um, when I lived in Chicago, our place, it was a party place, right? Everybody was drinking, smoking. I mean, when we left that place was yellow. Like the walls were all yellow from everybody smoking, and there was so much drinking, people peeing in corners and puking here. And there was a party house, right? That was kind of what we grew up with, right? In the 90s and maybe even early 2000s, kind of like a frat house. And I know there's still places like that, don't get me wrong, but I feel like with Jacob and his friends, who happen to, they're not drinkers per se. I know they'll have a drink or two, but that's not their thing. Their thing is smoking the devil's lettuce, which to me is like way better because they're clean, they're organized, they all have jobs, they're responsible, and I'm like, I had to grow up fast in my young 20s because I had kids at a young age, but before I had the kids, it was a shit show. So I can't complain about that. So anybody that calls these kids out that smoke pot and all this other stuff and have no clue what they're talking about, you're like, smoking the devil's lettuce is way better than drinking or being an alcoholic, because alcohol is so much worse for you, so much worse for you. There's no medical benefits to alcohol, and with the other way around, I believe there's a little bit more uh, health benefits to cannabis and all that. So anyways, I digress. My point is, I'm very proud of Jacob and his girl and his friends and everything else. So being very responsible, and like I said, they have a very clean place, very organized, and I love visiting him. I love seeing him, growing up and becoming an adult, a responsible adult, and just knowing he's going the right direction makes me very happy. So and the same thing with all the kids, obviously, and all that. So, but specifically, just because I happened to see, Jacob on Sunday, so that was on my mind and in my notes right here. So, let's see what else we did. Of course, did my cold plunge, continuing to do that. Signed up for jujitsu this past week, so that was fun. That's good. So I'll continue to do those things, and then just do my own, workouts, and going to the gym with Crystal and Easton Swim and all that stuff. That's all good things. And speaking of that, actually, we had a one of those days. I think it was either Monday or Tuesday, and I think it was Tuesday, where we were in the gym, and Easton was swimming. We did our thing, and then we went to the sauna afterwards, and we had this lady, kind of a hipster looking lady, if you will. Couldn't really tell, just the way she was talking to us, you could tell. But her hair is kind of like, old, like grayish, and kind of put up in a bun, kind of like you see a lot of these old hipster girls. Like I kind of like that look, very seasoned, and like pepper, like how girls like the pepper beard or the peppered hair, in guys and stuff like that. I think that's cool in women too. It just shows a maturity, level of maturity, right, and confidence, I think. um, and so she kind of had that look, and she told me and Crystal, because me and Crystal were in the zone just talking about, and I don't even remember what we were talking about. I think it was something about Easton or swim or us or whatever, but we were in the zone. And I don't know where she asked this question. I forget what she asked, but it led to her saying something like, "Because I feel like you guys are like a, a good unit," something like that. She said. So she was saying me and Crystal looked like we were a very good couple. That we had something about us that made her feel like we were very close. And I don't know. Anyways, my point was that she called us out on that, and that felt really good, because I think me and Crystal were kind of taken aback. We're like, we're just doing what we do all the time. Now, what I'll say to that is, a lot of times you get in this little bubble, right? Especially when you're like first in love with somebody, when you're like, or like really into something, or somebody new in your life, even if it's like a friend and you're like super interested in that conversation, you're like, it's just you and them, right? That happens. And obviously that's happened. And that happens between me and Crystal. But those are very rare occasions, right? Where you're like just into it. For the most part, we've been together so long that I think we just kind of go on, and you can't just make each other number one all the time, because kids are here, that you got to pay attention. You got to, you'd go crazy if you and your partner were just each other's number one all the time, but then you still have to go to work and do all these other things, because you have to be able to put your time and attention to these other things, right? And be okay with, putting your partner and your kids, I'm not saying second, but just kind of putting it to the side while you do your business. The problem is people don't come back from that, right? Sometimes people put work first, but they never come back to their families, right? You have to be able to do the things that you're doing in front of you, put those first, get it done. But overall, your family's always number one, right? And that's just the way we all live, right? It's very rare that you're just in the zone all the time. And I feel like this week, me and Krista have been a little bit more in the zone when we're together, because what happens is, even when you're together,